The deep forest stood silent under the pale moonlight, its ancient trees shrouded in mystery. For generations, the townsfolk had whispered tales of the forest's unsettling aura, its unsettling secrets that echoed through time. But none of those stories could have prepared Irvin, a seasoned detective, for what he was about to uncover. Irvin was a man of logic and reason, his sharp mind honed through years of solving perplexing cases. When a string of gruesome murders began to terrorize the small town of Elmridge, it was up to him to bring the serial killer to justice. The victims, all young women, were found deep within the heart of the forest, their bodies arranged in a macabre display that sent shivers down the spines of even the most hardened officers. As the body count rose, so did the tension within the town. Fear gripped the community like a vice, and the once close-knit neighborhood became a breeding ground for suspicion and paranoia. Irvin, however, remained steadfast in his pursuit of the truth. He delved into the lives of the victims, searching for connections that could lead him to the killer's identity. Each victim's story painted a picture of lives filled with hopes and dreams, cruelly snuffed out by a sadistic hand. The forest loomed large in Irvin's investigation, its presence an ever-present reminder of the killer's eerie hunting ground. He spent countless hours combing through its undergrowth, searching for any clues that could break the case wide open. Every rustle of leaves, every whisper of the wind seemed to taunt him, as if the forest itself was complicit in the crimes. Despite the mounting pressure, Irvin refused to give in to despair. He meticulously pieced together the evidence, connecting dots that others had missed. Tirelessly, he interviewed witnesses and scrutinized alibis, determined to unmask the predator hiding in the shadows. And then, just as hope began to wane, a breakthrough came. A witness, a reclusive woodsman named Elias, emerged from the depths of the forest with a harrowing tale. He claimed to have seen a figure lurking among the trees on the nights of the murders, a figure shrouded in darkness. Elias spoke of a malevolent aura that seemed to radiate from the stranger, chilling him to his core. He described the deep forest as a place where reality and nightmares intertwined, a place where evil wore a tangible form. Irvin's heart raced as he listened to Elias's account. This was the lead he had been waiting for, the missing piece that could finally bring the killer to justice. With renewed determination, he vowed to delve even deeper into the heart of the forest, to confront the darkness that had haunted Elmridge for far too long. Irvin's resolve burned like a flame as he ventured deeper into the heart of the ominous forest. The trees seemed to close in around him, their gnarled branches forming grotesque silhouettes against the moonlit sky. Every step he took was fraught with tension, every crackle of twigs underfoot sending his heart racing. But he pushed forward, guided by the urgency of his mission. The forest seemed to come alive as Irvin pressed on, a symphony of rustling leaves and distant hoots of owls playing a haunting melody. He thought of the victims, of the lives cut short, and the weight of their unspoken pleas fueled his determination. He carried the hopes of the town on his shoulders, a beacon of justice in a sea of darkness. Hours passed like mere moments, and Irvin's determination led him to a clearing bathed in an eerie glow. There, he saw a sight that sent a chill down his spine, a makeshift altar adorned with the trinkets of the victims. The moonlight cast a spectral light on the scene, illuminating the twisted reverence with which the killer had arranged his trophies. Irvin's breath caught in his throat as he surveyed the altar. The depth of the killer's depravity was laid bare before him, a stark reminder of the darkness that lurked within the human soul. But he couldn't afford to be paralyzed by horror. He meticulously examined the altar, noting every detail, every potential clue that could lead him closer to his quarry. As he continued his investigation, a sudden movement caught Irvin's attention. He turned to see a figure emerging from the shadows, the same figure Elias had described. The air seemed to grow colder, and a sense of foreboding gripped him. The stranger's eyes gleamed with a malevolent light, and Irvin knew that he was face to face with the serial killer himself. "Who are you?" Irvin's voice rang out, his words infused with a mixture of authority and defiance. The killer's lips curled into a sinister smile, his voice dripping with venom. I am the culmination of their fears, the embodiment of their darkest nightmares. Irvin's heart pounded, but he stood his ground. He knew that this confrontation was the culmination of his tireless efforts, the final showdown that would determine the fate of Elmridge. The forest seemed to hold its breath, a silent witness to the deadly dance between predator and prey. The ensuing battle was a fierce one, a clash of wills and wits in the heart of the deep forest. Irvin fought with every ounce of strength he possessed, determined to bring the killer to justice. The struggle was brutal, each move calculated and precise, a deadly game of cat and mouse amid the trees. In the end, it was Irvin's unwavering resolve that proved to be his greatest weapon. With a final, decisive blow, he incapacitated the killer and brought an end to the reign of terror that had gripped Elmridge for so long. The forest seemed to sigh in relief, its ancient secrets finally laid to rest. As dawn broke over the horizon, Irvin emerged from the deep forest, his steps heavy with exhaustion, but his heart light with triumph. The townsfolk gathered to celebrate his victory, their faces a mix of relief and gratitude. Irvin knew that his journey was far from over, that the scars of the past would linger, but he was determined to bring healing and closure to a community that had suffered so much. And so, the deep forest stood as a silent witness to the indomitable spirit of one man, a testament to the power of determination and the unwavering pursuit of justice. Its shadows may have concealed unspeakable horrors, but they also bore witness to the strength of the human spirit, a light that could never be extinguished. Mason always had an adventurous spirit, but little did he know that the adventure he was about to embark on would become a nightmare etched in his memory forever. It was a crisp autumn morning when he and his group of friends set out for a hiking trip in the notorious dark forest. The forest was known for its dense canopy, towering trees, and eerie silence that seemed to swallow even the bravest of sounds. The group consisted of Mason, his childhood friend Emma, her cousin Liam, and their two adventurous companions, Sarah and Ben. They were equipped with backpacks, sturdy boots, and a sense of excitement that could hardly be contained. The plan was to hike through a well-marked trail that would lead them to an abandoned cabin deep within the forest, a place they had heard stories about since childhood. As they entered the forest, the sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating dappled patterns on the forest floor. Laughter and banter echoed through the trees as the friends shared stories and jokes. The path seemed clear, and the forest initially appeared to be just like any other. Hours passed, and their enthusiasm remained unshaken. By mid-afternoon, they reached a fork in the trail. Consulting their map, they decided to take the left path, which promised a shorter route to the cabin. The atmosphere around them seemed to change subtly as they ventured deeper. Shadows grew longer, and the air became cooler, causing a shiver to run down Mason's spine. The trail gradually became less defined, and fallen leaves obscured their path. Despite their attempts to follow the map, doubts began to creep in. They should have reached the cabin by now. Mason's excitement gave way to concern, but he kept his worry to himself, not wanting to dampen the group's spirit. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they realized they were lost. Panic set in, and their laughter turned into nervous chatter. Mason took charge, suggesting they retrace their steps. But as they attempted to find their way back, the forest seemed to shift around them, disorienting them further. Hours turned into darkness, and anxiety tightened its grip. The group huddled together, their flashlight beams dancing across the trees, casting eerie shadows that seemed to come alive. A distant rustling sound sent their hearts racing. Mason tried to reassure everyone, his voice quivering slightly. "I'm sure we'll find our way back," he said, attempting to sound confident. But even he couldn't ignore the unsettling feeling that they were being watched, that something sinister lurked just beyond their vision. As they sat in the darkness, the forest seemed to close in on them, its ancient trees becoming towering sentinels of dread. Time lost its meaning, and fatigue tugged at their eyelids. Mason fought to stay awake, his mind plagued by the terrifying possibility that they might never escape the grasp of the dark forest. The night wore on, and exhaustion finally overcame the group. They huddled together for warmth, trying to find comfort in each other's presence amidst the cold and darkness. Sleep was fitful, plagued by unsettling dreams and the eerie sounds of the forest. Mason awoke to the faint light of dawn filtering through the trees. The forest seemed quieter now, as if it had held its breath through the long night. The others stirred as well, and they exchanged weary glances, their faces etched with fear and uncertainty. "We need to keep moving," Mason declared, his voice determined. "Staying here won't help us. We have to find a way out." With renewed determination, the group stood up, their stiff bodies protesting the movement. They gathered their belongings and began to follow Mason's lead as they retraced their steps, trying to find any familiar landmarks. The forest, however, seemed intent on confounding their efforts, the path constantly shifting and distorting before them. Tensions rose as frustration gnawed at their resolve. Arguments erupted, and accusations were thrown around like stones. Mason did his best to keep the group together, reminding them that their only chance was to work as a team. As they pressed forward, a glimmer of hope emerged when they stumbled upon a stream that matched the description on their map. Following the stream, they pushed deeper into the forest, the tension in the air palpable. Anxiety clenched their hearts, every rustling leaf making them jump. The forest seemed to stretch on endlessly, and their supplies dwindled, but still they persisted. Days turned into a week, or so they thought. Time lost all meaning as they battled exhaustion, hunger, and the constant fear of the unknown. Mason's leadership became a lifeline for the group, his determination and unwavering spirit inspiring them to keep going. Just as despair threatened to consume them, a breakthrough came. Through a gap in the trees, they caught a glimpse of a familiar hill, a landmark they had passed on the first day of their ill-fated journey. Elation surged through their weary bodies as they recognized their surroundings. "We're almost there," Mason said, his voice cracking with emotion. "We're going to make it out of here." With newfound energy, they charged forward, reaching the outskirts of the forest. The sight of open fields and the distant outline of civilization was a balm to their souls. Their steps quickened, the forest releasing its hold on them at last. As they emerged from the dark forest, the group shared a mixture of relief, gratitude, and sorrow. Their harrowing ordeal had forged an unbreakable bond, but they were forever changed by the shadows they had faced. Weeks later, as Mason looked out at the sunset from his window, his mind often wandered back to those dark days. The forest's secrets remained locked away, and the memory of their time lost within its depths would haunt him. He couldn't help but wonder what had truly transpired in that enigmatic and sinister realm, but one thing was certain: the dark forest had left an indelible mark on his soul.